You're listening to Covering the Field with your host, Joe Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field, where we analyze all sports, handicap them, and make and review predictions. I'm your host, Joe Ellison, and today we'll be covering the National Hockey League with Sean Gates, Major League Baseball, and golf's U.S. Open. And we'll have a discussion about college football's newly proposed playoff system. So how are you doing today, Sean?
Great. Thank you, Joe, for having me.
First off, though, I'm going to do a quick little segment on the NBA, where injuries certainly have been the big story, with at least 7 all-star players already missing time, which is the most ever. In the East, the Brooklyn Nets are favored to win it all. Now they have injuries to 2 of their big 3 players, with Kyrie Irving out and James Harden, a shell of himself in their series with the Milwaukee Bucks, that has the Nets currently leading 3-2 and plus 180 to win the championship. It's so ironic that the only one of the Nets' big 3 still healthy is Kevin Durant, although they all played together only about 10 times during the regular season. Remember, Durant selfishly left Oklahoma City for Golden State 5 years ago because he felt he couldn't win a championship with the Thunder. He left one season after the Thunder led the Warriors 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals, but couldn't quite finish the series off. After he got so close with the Thunder, like a gutless worm, he joined Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and the rest of the talented Warriors to win his championships. This season, he's been playing with his buddies Harden, who forced a trade from Houston, and Irving to form a trio that was destined to win it all. But now Durant might have to win without them. If that isn't karma, I don't know what is. It couldn't have happened to a bigger shill. But one has to admire Durant's performance Tuesday night in Game 5, becoming the only player in NBA playoff history to score more than 45 points, grab more than 15 rebounds, and record 10 assists in a single game. We expected a good battle between the Nets and the Bucks, and we've had it, with the series looking like it will go the distance. Brooklyn's deep bench will be tested as the Nets are 35-8 with Harden and a 500 team without him. But we'll stick with our prediction of Brooklyn to advance in 7. In the Philadelphia-Atlanta series, the question coming in was the health of 76er star Joel Embiid's knee. After scoring 39 points in Game 1, 40 in Game 2, and 27 in Game 3, Embiid sure didn't appear to be injured. But during Game 4, Embiid spent time in the locker room and went 0 for 12 from the field in the second half, scoring 17 points in a 103-100 loss to the Hawks. Philly has a losing record without him and desperately needs their leader to be effective in order to advance. Before the series, we predicted the Sixers to win in 7, but the current health of Embiid has us now flipping our pick to an upset, with Atlanta winning in 6. In the West, we congratulate the Phoenix Suns, who swept league MVP Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets to advance to the conference finals. We jumped on the Suns bandwagon after they smothered the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers, who on paper to have an even better team this year than last, but did suffer with an injury to superstar Anthony Davis. We're picking the Suns to defeat either Utah or the LA Clippers and advance to the NBA Finals. And lastly, in that Jazz-Clippers series, it appears to be destined to go to a Game 7 as they now stand tied 2-2. Utah had the best overall record during the regular season and earned its spot as the favorite in the West. Even without Mike Conley, the Jazz should wear down a Clippers team that last round went 7 games against Dallas and has now lost superstar Kawhi Leonard. But Utah will not get past Phoenix. In the end, we see Phoenix, now at plus 375, winning their first ever world championship. We expect leader Chris Paul to recover quickly from his bout with COVID. And oh, by the way, how can it be a world championship if all the eligible teams are only in the NBA? Well, that's another story for another day. And now, on to the National Hockey League. and my guest, Sean Gates. And the quest for the greatest trophy in North American team sports, the Stanley Cup, where if you win the championship, you get your name etched on the trophy and you get to spend 24 hours with it. It is such a great honor winning the cup. This year, like every year, the playoffs have already been a great battle. Out of 64 games, 33 have been decided by one goal, and 22 of those have gone to overtime with a total of 28 overtime periods. Pretty exciting, right? But every season, it's the same thing. There were 28 playoff overtime games last year. The Stanley Cup playoffs are always awesome to watch. Have you ever been disappointed in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Sean?
Oh, no. Even if the game is 7-1, it's still exciting.
That's right. Now we're in the Final Four. And the clear favorites are the Vegas Golden Knights, or minus 120 to win it all. Would you happen to agree with that?
Oh, I agree with that. I would think that it'd even be higher than that. I think the Knights are the ones that are going to win the Stanley Cup. In my opinion, it came down to the Avalanche and the Knights, and whoever was going to win that series was going to win the whole thing.
So you would suggest betting the minus 120, and you're expecting it to go back up?
I figure it'll even go up higher
Okay.
as they keep winning. I'm not sure they'll sweep the Montreal Canadiens, but I expect it to be 5, no more than 6.
Well, if Montreal wins tonight, certainly that's going to change.
Yes, that'll change your odds.
Some people are not expecting Montreal to win a single game in this series. I'm not expecting a sweep. But anyway, you are a Colorado Avalanche fan.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Die hard.
Yes. Well, Vegas tied Colorado for the league's best record during the regular season, and those two teams just met in the West Division Finals. Now, the Avalanche went into Game 3 boiling hot. They had won 11 games in a row and 13 consecutive at home, and they were up 2-0 in the series with the Golden Knights. Vegas had the daunting task of needing to win 4 out of the next 5 to advance. But Vegas did one better than that by sweeping the next 4 games over the Cup favorite Avalanche. Sean, what happened?
Well, I think that the Vegas Knights, they slowed down the Avalanche. I think the Avalanche are one of the fastest hockey teams in the NHL, if not the fastest. I think the Knights are right behind them. And as you tell in that first game, the Knights were not ready to play the Avalanche. So I kind of consider that a wash. They weren't ready. They played in Game 7. The Avalanche had 4 or 5 days rest before they even played. And as you can see in the second game, the Avalanche didn't play their best, and they still won, I believe, by 1 goal.
In overtime.
And it still wasn't the Avalanche best. I believe that the Knights just found a way to slow down the Avalanche where they weren't getting 50 shots a game, blocking all those shots that Fleury couldn't get to them. And I think that's how they won.
All right.
I think the two teams kind of mirror each other in the way they play offense, where it's real fast-paced, real high. Defense is a different story, but they kind of mirror each other.
Well, now the Golden Knights are facing off against the Montreal Canadiens. Now, like you are a Avalanche fan, I am a Boston Bruins fan. And having the rival Canadiens in the Final Four is not what my doctor ordered, but seeing as though they invented the sport, it is good for Canada, and also good to see an original 6 team make it this far. Of course, Canada was guaranteed one of the 4 division winners because all 7 Canadian teams were placed in the same division in this pandemic-altered season. Did you think Montreal was going to make it this far?
No, I really thought it was going to be Toronto. And then the way Winnipeg started out this season, I thought that they might have a chance. In my eyes, I think the North was the weakest division, but it's real hard to tell when you're not playing interdivision games. So it's when they're all just playing each other, it's really hard to figure out who's actually really good and who's not. To give you an example of the Islanders, I thought that they were going to have a real hard time making the playoffs, and they made it pretty easy. Then I was thinking, okay, it was kind of hard to win the first round, and they made it through that. So Island. It's hard to
Yes,
judge
against
when
the
they're not
Penguins,
playing. Yeah, when they're not inter-league play, inter-divisions at least this year. It's hard to
Well,
tell.
It would have been hard to tell Montreal was going to advance because when the playoffs started, the Canadiens were the worst team to qualify. But it really is no surprise the Canadiens have advanced this far. Very often in the NHL, supposedly weaker teams, and especially their goaltenders, get hot at the right time, showcasing the unpredictability and excitement of the NHL playoffs.
And Price is excellent.
Yes.
I think if the Montreal didn't have Price, we wouldn't be talking about him at all.
Yes. Price has been outstanding.
I agree.
It's amazing how a goaltender can change the whole playoff series, maybe the entire playoffs themselves. I always hear how the quarterback in football is the most important position in all of team sports. But I beg to differ. How can quarterback be the most important position when he's on the field only half the time? I mean, Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer, Nick Foles, there's been other mediocre signal callers that have won Super Bowls on strong teams. But if your hockey team's goaltender is not stopping pucks, there is no way you're going to win Lord Stanley's Cup. Any thoughts on that, Sean?
All I can say is Bordeaux, Patrick Waugh, Grant Fuhr, all those goalies, top goalies, all won Stanley Cups. You got to have the goalie.
That's right. So, in the North Division Finals, Montreal led or tied every moment of its series against Winnipeg, and they possessed the longest streak without trailing in playoff history, an astonishing 438 consecutive minutes. But, as we predicted last week, it didn't take Vegas long to break that string. The Golden Knights took Game 1 4-1 over a Canadian squad that was perhaps a little rusty after 6 days following their sweep over the Jets, or maybe just simply overmatched.
Or the crowd noise. They haven't been in front of crowd noise all year.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think? Do you think they're a little rusty and you're going to expect a much better effort, or do you think the Canadians really don't have a shot?
I see them winning one game, and I only say that because it's hard to sweep anybody. But I think the Knights are on a way different level than Montreal.
Okay.
I think the two top teams, the Avalanche and the Knights, for the regular season, I think the only other one you could put in there is maybe the Blues. I just think that the West was that much better than any others.
Okay. So you're not really putting the defending champion Lightning up in that category.
No, I don't think the Lightning are as fast as they were last year. I think there's holes in their game. Florida, the Panthers, they should prove that there's holes in their game. The Knights are just way too fast. The stick handling, the way they think, line changes, blocking shots. They block shots better than any team in the league.
The Golden Knights opened that series as a heavy minus 500 favorite. And after Game 1, now they're minus 1,100. That means betting $11 to win every $1. So there really is no value here. But we're sticking with our easy prediction of Vegas to return to the NHL Finals for the second time in 4 years. On the other side of the bracket, the aforementioned defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning are currently tied 1-1 with the New York Islanders. The Lightning went off in this series as a strong minus 300 favorite. What do you think about that when that came out, Sean?
Yeah. Again, the X factor here is the Islanders. You got a team. I don't want to call them no-name teams, but a no-name team with a really great coach that's putting them together to come at the right time, and they just keep surprising. I can see the Islanders beat Tampa Bay. I would think Tampa Bay, if I was betting money, I would take Tampa Bay, but I can see the Islanders winning. But even if they do, I don't see them getting past the Knights, and I don't see Tampa Bay getting past the Knights.
All right. Well, it was the Islanders in Game 1 that imposed their will. New York, who incidentally led the league in hits this year, set the tone early by starting a skirmish 8 seconds into the contest. This physical style of play is intended to wear down an opponent over the course of a 7-game series, and it has been very successful for head coach Barry Trotz. Trotz owns the third most wins in NHL history, and he led the Washington Capitals to the Stanley Cup in 2018. As I often say, coaching is the most underrated part of any sport. And when Washington refused to pay Trotz what he deserved, the organization made a huge mistake and let him go. New York was extremely fortunate to get him. And of course, with a name like Trotz, you better be good. And in my opinion, he's the best coach in the NHL. And his team was well prepared in winning Game 1. Do you believe Trotz is the best coach in the NHL?
I like Joe Quenneville as the best coach, but yes, there is an argument that Trotz. What I really liked about Trotz is, like you brought up, the physical aspect. That's how you're going to slow these teams down that are fast, is by hitting them. And I think that the Islanders do a really great job doing that. Their goalie, Varlamov. Yeah, he keeps, again, you go back to having a goalie that can get you through the playoffs. He's one of them that can get you through the playoffs. I think the Islanders if they can get some better, a little more help on defense and maybe a little quicker offense, they'll be right there with those elite teams. I just think they're a little bit, they keep, last 3-4 years, they keep going building, and they keep going up. So I think they're not too far away from there, but I just don't think they have it this year.
Okay, well, Game 2, Tuesday night, of course, was a different story, but it certainly was not at all a surprise. Tampa Bay goalie Andrei Vasilevsky, arguably the best goalie in the league, we'll discuss that in a minute, has an amazing record in games after a playoff loss. He's a perfect 11-0. The Lightning also did take advantage of a non-call when they had too many men on the ice on that one goal, and since the referees didn't call it, Tampa Bay proceeded to score the tie-breaking goal to make the game 2-1, and they never looked back in winning 4-2. What are your thoughts on Vasilevsky? I mean, all 4 of these goaltenders are tremendous.
Yes, I agree totally. It's very small and minute between all of them. They're all different styles. Andre Fleury, in my eyes, is the best goalie right now. He's been proven, and for USA, Team USA, Pittsburgh Penguins. My eyes, I don't see why Pittsburgh ever did get rid of him. I think the Knights was blessed, got a gift.
That was the expansion draft, and the Penguins had just won the cup with Matt Murray in goal.
Correct.
And they used both goaltenders going down the stretch, and they had to let one go, and they kept the younger Murray over the more experienced Fleury, but they both were playing about equal
the same
at the time.
He was younger.
And the Vegas Golden Knights naturally.
I would have kept Fleury just because he's proven. He's a proven commodity. I just would have really had a hard time getting rid of him. I probably would have kept both goalies if it was me.
The expansion draft, you had to expose one goaltender. And we're going to see the Seattle Kraken this year having their expansion draft. And there's going to be a goalie or two worth grabbing this year, too. But yes, that was a tough call at the time. But now it looks like the wrong call, as Murray is not even on the Penguins anymore. So, yes, the Golden Knights did wonderfully well making their first expansion pick, Marc-Andre Fleury. And the celebration they had when he was picked first was amazing for Vegas fans who'd never even really seen hockey. It's just been really, really good. And it looks good for the Golden Knights, of course. So, yes, we picked Tampa Bay, who is, to win the series. They are now at minus 210. They opened at minus 300. After losing game 1, they were down to like minus 120. Now they win game 2. They're up to minus 210. And it appears most people are picking them to meet Vegas in the finals. But game 1 proved that the Islanders will not go away easily. I think this is going to be a long series. And hopefully it goes all 7.
I think it will. And I think, I don't know. I couldn't tell you if the Islanders or Tampa Bay is going to win, but I expect it to be game 7. And then whoever has to play will have to play Vegas. Pretty rested Vegas, too, I would think.
Yeah, well, in the finals last week, we predicted the favored Golden Knights to hoist the Stanley Cup, led by Fleury, in his 17th season and his hefty 90 playoff wins. I mean, they're going to bring home the trophy, the most difficult trophy to win. And it's only their 4th year of existence. So
exciting, very exciting.
Very awesome for Vegas and the state of Nevada. And,
Correct, yes.
And all of us. So any last thoughts on hockey before we move on? Covered it all, huh?
Best bang for your buck in my eyes. More action in there than anything.
Yes, it's exciting to watch. Have you been to a few games?
Oh, I've been to a bunch of games. I grew up in Denver, and I remember being a kid going to the Colorado Rockies games, who are now the New Jersey Devils, and got to meet Wolf Paymont, and just as a kid.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, the Rockies weren't very good, so they had to move.
Don Cherry was the coach.
Oh, wow. The great Don Cherry.
Great Don Cherry.
Canadian hero. Controversial.
And we're talking like 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1980, 81, something
so
like that.
he was done coaching the Bruins at that time.
Yes.
And moved on.
I moved on.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I've been to a few Sharks games. It's awesome. Television does not do hockey justice. There's so much action going on behind the puck. The players going on and off the ice and skirmishes and it's
A lot going on.
Yes. Well, and the people who don't like hockey, I'm going to guess like 90% of them have probably never been to a game. And I would say like probably 90% of people who've been to a game like hockey, if that makes any sense. So
I find that most people don't like hockey just because they don't understand the rules. And I find that on most sports. And once they understand a little bit rules and they start watching it, they start to like it. It's just understanding the rules.
We might be getting a minor league team up in Reno, I heard. We'll see if that actually comes. There is a rink up there now. So that's a start. So I'll be looking forward to going there. It's a lot closer than going to San Jose or Vegas. So that'd be cool to, go up to Reno and check out a game. But anyway, we do have to move on. And we're going to move away from the current professional playoffs and the handicapping and predictions because we need to address the college football's proposed playoff format. Under this new system, 12 teams would qualify, with the 6 highest rated conference champions and 6 at-large schools being invited. The top 4 conference winners would get a bye, and no conference would be guaranteed a participant. Now, see, back in the day, there was no playoff system.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Everyone relied on human polls to determine a national championship. The AP, UP, every P in the pod wanted to have a say in who truly won it all. But many times, multiple champions were crowned because humans disagreed as to who deserved the titles. So, after Michigan and Nebraska shared the title in 1997, the BCS championship was invented. The BCS, or the BS as many called it, was a convoluted mathematical formula that incorporated the median coaches polls, anywhere from 6 to 8 computer rankings, depending on the year, schedule ranking times 0.04. I don't know how they came up with that. The number of losses per team, bonus points for beating the top teams, opponent's schedule strength, and opponents' schedule strength. Now, this appeared to be legitimate, honest effort at determining a national champion, but as we know, computers are programmed by humans, and programs are skewed. People also were complaining that an extra football game could lead to unnecessary injuries, although lower divisions of college football were implementing 16-team playoffs. But the real problem with the BCS was that deserving teams were being excluded from a chance to win the title. Finally, in 2014, the college football playoff began, with 4 teams now being invited. Playoffs? Committees, including great human beings and sports fans such as Condoleezza Rice, now determined who deserved a crack at the championship. But then another problem arose. Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State seemingly were in the Final Four every year. So to get more teams and fans involved, this new 12-team proposal was invented. The athlete health issue apparently must have never existed. Now it's possible a team could play its 12-game schedule, a conference championship game, and 4 more playoff games for a total of 17. And I guess the way they have it set up right now, and I understand it. And that's what the NFL is starting to play this year, 17 games. That just seems like a little too much. I'm proposing a 8-team playoff, Sean. What do you think about that?
I like the 8-team playoff format. I don't think there's really any set way that you can do the college football and have everybody happy. I would like it to have you win your conference and you're automatically in the playoffs. Joe's proposal with 8 teams, then I don't see any bye weeks, and I like that. I like that the top teams don't get the bye weeks. And I think that 12 teams is too many. But I would like to see 8 teams. You got to have some type of playoff system. And I think 8 teams is perfect. I really do. I think you cover the top 4 or 5 teams. Mm-hmm. That should be there.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is taking the top 5 conference champions, for sure. That'll eliminate one of the top conferences, from automatically getting in. But normally that's what happens is one of those teams doesn't really deserve to be there anyway. Certainly Notre Dame will get mentioned. If they're anywhere close to being in the playoff, they'll probably get in. It just seems to work out that way. And any group of 5 team, the lower conferences, and I usually root for the little guy, but I'm going to insist that the lower 5 team, the conference, whatever, I suggest that they be undefeated to be invited. If they have 1 loss, they don't get in. So, that's college sports. I mean, football is the only sport where you can go undefeated and not have a chance to win the national championship, and that's totally wrong. So,
yeah, with the way you have it set up with your format, every team would have a chance. Even the independent teams, or like you said, Notre Dame, or everybody would have a shot.
Yes. So, from year to year, you would have anywhere from 1 to 3 at-large berths, depending on the season, and with the Notre Dame and the lower conference team. So I hope they come to some common sense and knock it down to 8.
That would be nice. And I like your idea of not having any bye weeks. I don't like the bye weeks. I think that everybody should play once a week.
Yeah, and I would like to see an undefeated, I don't know, Mountain West team or something take on Alabama or somebody.
Yes, exactly.
They're both
exciting.
Equally undefeated at the time. Maybe not equally, but certainly record-wise. And,
It gives those teams a chance.
It gives them a chance for the big upset, whereas the 12 could play a 5 and already be eliminated and not have a chance to play the very top team. So we'll see how it goes. And that's next week, June 23rd, I believe. They're going to vote on whether this is even a possibility it'll be like September before they actually make it official, if it ever does. And it's something to keep track of as the season goes on. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So have you been watching, Sean? Have you been watching any baseball lately?
Oh yeah, I've been watching the Giants a lot. Last night, Yaz hit that grand slam. That was excellent.
It helped me win a ticket, so I was happy with that.
There you go.
I think Arizona had they've lost like 20 road games in a row, something like that.
Yeah.
So if I was looking for some surefire wagers, let's say, like betting against Arizona on the road, perhaps.
Colorado as well.
Okay, Colorado on the road is also poor.
Yes.
Okay. Certainly Jacob DeGrom, betting on him might be pretty good. I don't think he's given up a run in a couple months or so.
Jeez, his ERA.
Yeah, his ERA is 0.5 or something.
Yeah, it's 0. I don't know what it is exactly, but yes, DeGrom. The only thing I've been really seeing at the books is the Orioles. People have been hitting the Orioles for really big money.
Yes. I guess I
know it's hard to put money against those teams, but
I guess I should have mentioned you are a sportsbook manager. So you get to see a lot of people making wagers.
Correct. Yes.
Does that help you form your opinions, or do you just kind of go on your own thoughts?
There's not too many things that I see as far as a trend or anything like that. Most of the time, it's if you think that a team is going to win, and that's a team that you put on every ticket, teams seems to be the one that loses.
Yeah.
So I guess if there is a system, the harder it is to hit, those are the ones that usually hit, and the ones that you think that you're going to put the house on are the ones that don't.
No
That's
such
what
thing.
I see.
No such thing as a sure thing.
No, yeah, Kershaw at minus 200. I couldn't tell you how many times he's lost at a minus 200.
Yeah.
Now that trend is kind of going away now. That was kind of the norm about 2 or 3 years ago.
But you mentioned the Orioles, and you're going to get a lot of plus money on the Orioles, I would assume.
Yes, you will.
Yes, and I guess they started the season off so poorly. I think maybe that's what people remember.
Yes.
And now they're starting to come around a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But and then again, when we get to the All-Star break, all those start changing. Your top teams at the All-Star break are usually not your top teams at the end of the season. It happens all the time. It always gets changed around.
Okay, something to keep an eye on. Any other predictions or trends we should be thinking about?
Home dogs.
Okay.
Any sport, home dogs.
Okay.
I guess that would be my best advice.
Okay. Nice. Well, that only leaves like one subject really we haven't covered. We have the U.S. Open golf tournament starting Thursday.
Correct, yeah.
Which is tomorrow. We're at Torrey Pines in California. I can't say I follow golf that closely, but the story has been this rivalry between Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau.
Correct.
They have this hatred, if I can say that, but let's just say it. They hate each other. What do you think about that? And the U.S. Open not pairing them together?
Well, I would like to see them paired together. I also think that golf does need a few villains in it. It's always, it was always Greg Norman or Nicholson or, I don't know. But now if we can get some villains in there that we can root against, I think it'd be better for the sport. And I would love to see Koepka and DeChambeau play each other. I think it'd be great for TV.
Well, I've been doing well betting on Koepka. I mean, he seems to contend in the majors. He's like 60, 70 strokes better than any other golfer in the last, I don't know how many majors.
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue to bet on him. In the PGA, he lost by 2 strokes to Mickelson. Had his chances, but he is trying to overcome a knee injury. He had surgery. He can only get better from what I can see, and he's a super tough competitor. So I'm believing in him, and that's who I'm going to pick. I do root for Jordan Spieth. He's a Dallas guy, and I'm kind of a Dallas guy too. And he's won 3 majors. He started to play really well at the beginning of the year. He hasn't put it together enough to win a tournament, but, it'd be nice if he contended. Fans seem to like him. I think it would be good if he won. But the thing about betting on golf is there are so many guys who can win this tournament, and it's just impossible to predict.
A lot of X factors.
Yeah, I don't think too many people picked Mickelson. 50 years old. No one had ever been more than 48 and won a major, and here's a 50-year-old winning a major. So, that's one of the guys you just immediately cross off your list. Can't win, and he wins it.
See, that's great for the sport. There's nobody, the golf does not have Tiger Woods or doesn't have, Phil Mickelson back in the day. Like, there's nobody to take those places right now. So I don't think the interest is as well as when we did have Tiger Woods. So that's where I'm going. That we need to have the good and bad.
Yes.
Yin and the yang. And
it's tough to promote the bad in golf because it's supposed to be such a gentlemanly sport, and you're not supposed to cheat, and if you do, everybody's really going to hate you. They'll never forgive you. Ask Patrick Reed that. But it's like, how are Koepka and DeChambeau going to,
pair them together.
Yeah,
Pair 'em together. That's going to start it.
Escalate this rivalry. This ain't hockey. It's not like Koepka can go over to him and check him into his golf cart. He's going to have to, it's going to have to be a mental beatdown. So,
but you got to pair them together so that they're together looking at each other.
That's going to be interesting. Well, there's only one way that's going to happen this weekend, and is if they both play equally well. Whether they're both really bad or really good, they end up being paired together. Hopefully they're being paired together in the back 9, going for a championship, and
something like that.
That would be interesting.
It would be.
So
it'd be fun.
Okay. Well, I think that pretty much does it. That's it for this week. I'd like to thank my guest, Sean Gates, and everyone for listening. Hopefully you all enjoyed the show, and you'll hear us again next week on another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field with your host, Joe Ellison, a CMworldservices and the Sage production.